you in there.
A whole lot of me.
Ugh.
That's what it's all about.
It's not a whole lot of you. It's a whole lot of D&D, man.
A whole lot of
D&D, I'm not even
man.
going to pretend with a segue right now.
Well, no segues, nothing. It's D&D Direct, baby. Direct into your face.
That was a good one. I liked that.
So
Man, it's so smart to pick that word. Do other companies other than Nintendo do that?
I've never heard it before.
When I hear Nintendo Direct, my neurons turn all sorts of
something lights
on.
up.
I'm like, ooh, even though Nintendo Directs have been pretty mid over the last few times they've done it. I will admit, though, they did just announce Splatoon 3's
How
release
often
date.
do they do them? Like a couple every other month or something?
I couldn't tell you.
Maybe it's just random.
Sometimes they're just like, yep, we're going to have a Pokemon Direct now. But specifically Nintendo Direct, I don't know. So whenever I heard the word D&D Direct, I'm like, shit, now I got this to look forward to.
They've never announced the D&D Direct before. They've done D&D like streams, announcements, but never a direct. So this was a big, exciting moment.
Well, it's cool to me because I've always seen Nintendo Directs as a modern approach to announcements.
Yes.
And it felt very relevant to how, not just media, but just modern society enjoys to receive things now. And I love that they're doing this now because it feels as though, even though the medium of D&D is age-old, sacred, just like writing on paper, using a typewriter, etching into a stone tablet, playing things in person on a tabletop, it's something that's old and persists. Right. Now, it's like headphones, how you can get headphones from 1980 and they're just as good as they were before and sound just as good as the brand spanking new things are coming out. Same thing for tabletop stuff. But modernizing their approach to publicity and like reaching out and announcing these things,
making them flashier, more exciting.
Yeah,
the new age.
It's the hype they needed. Despite like everything that's come out lately, whether we've liked it or not.
Sure, something hits, something misses.
The announcement itself of
the structure,
the Direct was a present.
I think I was a little saddened that was only 30 minutes. Seemed pretty short, but Nintendo ones are like 30 to an hour, right?
It depends. I've seen anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a little sad that it was 30.
I don't know. Sometimes the Nintendo ones don't drag on, but they do have a lot of like tiny like indie stuff that shows up, so less to go through. I did notice one of the announcers said the next 30 minutes, and the video is 28 minutes, and at that time they were 3 minutes in, and I was like, so that was just being funny. I don't know. He's Ryan.
He's Braxton.
It's the Dungeon Crawl. Today we'll be talking about everything,
lots
at least
stuff.
Like what we found to be notable or what we enjoyed from the Nintendo Direct.
I got everything except for I want to talk about, except for there's one thing that I didn't include in here. It's so forgettable. I'm not even remember right now off the top of my head, but it's not worth going into. It was like a small little detail, but I got everything else in here that they included. I
don't know if there was anything that I would have considered to be like forgettable. It was all pretty chunky stuff.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe it'll come to me while we're going through it.
Huh.
But we'll start with what I deem as the biggest, and then we'll go down.
I'll bounce off because I didn't organize mine that way, so we'll go with that.
Okay, so the big highlight was Spelljammer, of course, and they opened with this, and they teased it a while back. First with the UA. And then they teased it with the April Fool's thing. And then I don't know if you saw their tweet, but they said they retweeted that, quote tweeted it, and said that we are a lawful good account. So that was cute. So if you guys don't know what Spelljammer is, it's basically blending the fantasy of D&D with space travel, which kind of takes in like regular like sea travel, but make it more fantastical and sci-fi.
I somehow have not known anything about Spelljammer outside of the name.
Cool. Yeah, people like it because it's kind of quirky, it's cute, it's fun. You can get really wacky with it. I know Chris Perkins has talked about that whenever he runs Spelljammer, it's very much episodic, which we'll play into what we're about to talk about, what they announced with it. Yeah. But he does it like a Star Trek kind of adventure where each session or each arc is like its own self-contained episode.
No, I loved the trailer they had with it. I saw a tweet of an artist that had one of these shots that flew by really quickly.
Yeah.
The art they had in each of those cuts, hello, welcome, cat. He loves sitting right there. He just crouched down. Was crazy. They were like full book cover level illustrations just flashing by all the adventures of the people on that ship. I did get a little sad at was that Boo, the hamster?
Yeah, it's Boo. It's flying around. Yeah.
So Minx wasn't there.
No, yeah, so Boo's a space hamster.
Boo isn't Mink's hamster. He is eventually, but he didn't start that way.
They're like they're buddies. It's like the Warhammer, Gotrek, and Felix kind of thing. They're friends together, but they're can be separate entities.
That's Hamster has a backstory. That's so
If I
fun
recall,
too.
the last thing we know of Boo is I think he leaves Minsk. He does. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've looked at their lore. But so this is Spelljammer Adventures in Space. This is what they announced. I saw on Amazon you could pre-order it for $70. But
wait, 70?
Yes, but D&D and WotC have said they'll be like typical standard price, $59, $60, $50, something like that.
It's me and Ryan's mic.
Come
here.
He's talking to the kiddies.
Yeah.
And it's going to release sometime this summer / August, so around that time.
Yeah, the release dates were all really like soon.
Yeah, I think I was a little disappointed that. I guess I'll count them now. We got the Spelljammer book announcement. We got a Journey to the Radiant Citadel thing. We'll go into more detail on these, but I'm trying to count all that we have. Plus a teaser for Dragonlance. And that's all the book announcements we have. So it's three books. That doesn't feel like a lot, but I guess we're already almost halfway through the year.
I guess it depends on how you're looking at it. If you took this as, hey, this is a roadmap for D&D for the next few years, or it's, hey, this is what's coming out.
Yeah, I think it's just 2022. But it still feels like I feel like we should have more than 3. Which, I mean, guess to be fair, let me talk about it now. Spelljammer is 3 books, technically. It's 3 volumes.
When I heard that, I was immediately thinking of the future when we have to record episodes on it. And I was like, all right, is it 3 books of 250? And then they said they're like 60 pages.
each,
And I was like, oh, thanks.
64 each. So 192 total. So that's nice.
But that's how you skirt around the problem of who's buying this book. We're just going to throw all 3 of them in there and you guys can pay full price. As if we released 3 separate books.
True. Though
they would have been probably 200-ish pages if they were dedicated to a certain demographic of player or DM. But in this case, it's not, hey, the Spelljammer books just came out. There's a bestiary, and he said bestiary, so now I will not give you shit anymore for that. You won't check out and say, hey, I'm not going to buy that book. It's I'm buying Spelljammer, and you get everything in there.
Everything to play. You can give it the adventurer's guide to your buddies, and you can run the adventure. Chris Perkins did say this is the reason they chose this format is because it's something that they've thought about doing. But they felt that Spelljammer was the best place to test out this new release model.
I wonder why that is. Is it just because it's a new setting, kind of?
Yeah, I guess because each thing is important. Like, so we'll talk about each volume. Like the Astral Adventurer's Guide has a bunch of the player options, which is 6 of the races, or all the races, I guess, from the UA that we saw.
Yeah, Astral
6
Elves,
new
Automomes,
options.
Hadozi, the Gifjif,
Gifjif.
Plasmoids, and the Thrycreen.
Yes, I assume there's going to be maybe some other stuff they haven't announced in there, hopefully. And then they also said it contains everything, quote, a DM will need to run in Spelljammer. So this is your DM guide plus a little bit of player stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to chalk it directly up now. This is a much bigger place than the Shadowfell is, but I'm going to be chalking this directly up against the how to run whatever books in the Shadowfell, whatever that book was, Van Richten's Guide to
that.
Van
Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
I was like, that's impressive to say that this book is all you're going to need to homebrew your own campaigns and run your own stories in this.
64 pages. That's cutting out the fluff.
Yeah, so I'm very interested to see how they approach that because just through the trailer and the imagery, of course, it gets you more hyped up than just seeing people sitting around a table, being in the setting. But I was like, ooh, I want to do this now.
Yeah, it looks like fun.
You know that was up Kenneth's alley, that trailer, if he's watched it.
100%.
Yeah.
So then the adventure is Light of Xeraxis. It sounds like how I would pronounce that. It says it's adventures, 12 episodes. They didn't announce the level at the time, but a guy on Twitter called Brandis Stoddard, he interviewed Chris Perkins, and he and Chris Perkins said that it will run between levels 5 through 8.
So have they ever called these things episodes before?
No, they haven't. Even with Candlekeep, which I would say that's pretty episodic.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me, and it felt as though maybe they're preparing to release more episodes.
That'd be cool.
As time goes on, which might finally bring us. We were talking. Are you talking to that guy on Twitter?
To level 20.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but yeah, to level 20.
That'd be nice.
It would be really cool.
Well, I think it plays into, like, as I said earlier, Chris Perkins, I think, views this like Star Trek kind of like show nature. So you can have very specific. He said each creature in the bestiary, Boo's Astral Menagerie, he said each creature in there could be its own episode. And you can follow along and make your own thing. But they said there's several mechanisms to introduce players into this. You can either create it at level 5, or they have apparently like introductory way to get into this place.
I'm just wondering how lengthy the episodes are. Are they just like a single
64
level?
Pages.
That's I feel like that's tiny.
It does feel tiny.
But then you think about
what you could fit in there.
What's the most recent thing that we've read? With actual
the Critical Role one. Another deep.
So that's what's in that. We've got a bunch of maps. We've got the dungeons and the descriptions of them themselves.
Are pretty lengthy.
They're pretty big. Do we feel like what would that book be if it was in 60 pages? Like, what would that structure? I know it's a tough question.
I feel like it'd be the last 2 adventures probably hits around there. Or last 2 dungeons.
Yeah.
With maybe the city in there. So I was thinking about like third-party adventures I've read. There's some really good ones that hit 30 pages. So you could probably get. I mean, you have to for 12 and 64 though. That's a lot.
Yeah. So that's what really stuck out to me is the mention of episodes and the levels, because to 8, I feel like it's not a lot, but most people don't go to the levels that we and Koss do, and in the campaigns that we play. Because I'm in 12 in both campaigns that I've been in now.
Yeah, I'd imagine they won't be full like levels. Come here, kitty. Come here.
Man, she got something in her mouth. No. What was she sniffing? What's she doing? No. You destroyed a lot of things. I'm so sorry. It's specifically Apple stuff. Those white cables, they see them and they just immediately. Shiny. I can put the headphones in my ears and they'll try to bite them out of me.
Oh no. Cats, man.
But yeah, I've been trying to think about how they're going to structure it. But it seems like a lot of love has been put into it.
Yeah. So then they announced because they were like, oh my God, that's so far away. Chris, what are you going to do? And they're going to have what's called the Spelljammer Academy, which is a way to introduce players to the concepts of Spelljammers. I would imagine DMs as well. Because this is, I can't remember the last one, but this came out in 2nd edition. So Spelljammer's pretty old. And it's going to launch in July. It's going to be completely free if you have a D&D Beyond account.
Yeah. Was that the first mention? Was that the only mention?
I don't know if they mentioned it there. But they said it'll be launched free if you have a Wizards account, which translates to D&D Beyond.
He'll come down. So he's not as destructive. The other cat's now on the desk. I'll try to curb my anxiety with him being there. So I was extremely excited.
Yes.
With these. Is this your top thing? Is why we're starting with it?
100%. Yeah. It's definitely the most information we got too, because they even went into mainly came out of the interviews afterwards. Chris was saying that it takes place in a place called Wild Space.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when you leave your home setting. So you leave the world or the Forgotten Realms and you go into the Astral Sea, and it's past the Astral Sea is Wild Space. And he says there's space here for a whole campaign, but obviously this is not going to have a whole campaign in it. And they said the edges of Wild Space transition to the Astral Sea, and you can in theory connect to other wild spaces by traveling through the Astral Sea. Just crazy.
In all announcements they had of new worlds, there was at least just a tiny degree more of focus on this is how you can bring it into your world.
Yeah, some multiverse kind of stuff. It's all connected somehow.
What are they doing? And blast. I mean, is that your next thing?
No, we're not done here. We're not done here.
Oh, okay.
Well, because then we got I didn't really talk about it, but the Astral Menagerie, which is the bestiary. And okay, so this is where it gets a little wacky to me. But that's Spelljammer. There's space clowns in here. Vampirates. And these are their quotes, not me. So they're called vampirates. Sentient comets. Now that's cool.
The art for that was sick. Yeah,
and space dragons.
And the dead gods floating in the seas.
Dead gods, of course.
Come on, bud.
Come here.
Come on.
Are you talking to me? So that sounds really cool. Interesting to see what the space clown nonsense is going to look like.
I mean, I feel like they work with the pirates. You know?
The vampires?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do.
Oh. Shouting from across.
They gotta hear.
And then they showed, so this is all in a bundle. So you get all 3 of those volumes plus, and I wonder if they're going to sell them separately. My guess is probably on D&D Beyond, maybe not physically.
Yeah.
Then there's also a Dungeon Master screen, which the art on that thing looks gorgeous.
It was pretty spicy though.
Trh. But I think I just like the Spelljammer art a lot.
Yeah.
Looks really pretty. The stuff that we know is going to be on it is going to have like random ship cargo. So if you find a ship out in the wild, and also like what's going to happen if you crash and like damages and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I don't know what else is going to be in there, but it's filling up 4 big trifolds. There's a lot of stuff in there. Very cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love the astral sea and the astral plane. So is this in the astral plane, or is it's just...
It's connected to the astral sea.
Okay.
So that's why they were saying that a lot of the stuff that in the astral, like the astral dreadnought, the Githyanki, and the all those people are inside this wild space.
Very interesting. I love it.
I did have here, actually, I should have put those notes higher, but they also, so Chris said that, like I'm best friends with him, Chris, Mr. Perkins said the choice of 3 volumes was so you could have the adventure open in front of you and then have the bestiary and stat blocks to your side. Yeah. Which is something I've always complained about by having to flip back and forth.
Surprised I've never done before, but he says he's been thinking about it and that Spelljammer is the best place to do it, so hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So the next thing, which is, I would say, connected to that, is the Monstrous Compendium.
That was interesting.
Yeah, this is, I assume it's always going to be 10 monsters, but 10 monsters available now.
Yeah.
On D&D Beyond. And D&D Beyond.
That was a super interesting thing. We think, based on the research that you've done, that like it probably just happened.
Yes. So the same guy I talked to mentioned before, Brandis, what's his name, on Twitter. He said he asked Chris Perkins, "Is there any chance of Sirenscape, which we use for our home game, and D&D Beyond integration to get atmospheric music at the table?" Because Sirenscape does have a Planescape and Spelljammer specific music already, and so there's more like an open-ended question for that. And he said, "There's no announcement at this time. Chris can't comment on D&D Beyond during the acquisition process." So the acquisition process is still happening. So that's why there was probably no mention of D&D Beyond during
There was a single one.
Yeah, there's one.
Single one. And it was the first or second time they were talking about the Monstrous Compendium and how to access it. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of an offhanded, not in a negative, but just like literally like a sidebar on your Wizards account or D&D Beyond today. I was like,
yeah, my theory is they might have recorded it before they acquired them, and so they were already working with D&D Beyond to have Monstrous Compendium in there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But so they're going to release a new Monstrous Compendium every month. And these are completely new creatures, new monsters that you won't be seeing in the Spelljammer book, won't be seeing other things. We're not going to go through all of the creatures, but my favorite ones, the Eldritch Lich, that guy's sick. The Asteroid Spider. The Fractine, which I found really interesting.
Spider's got 10 legs.
Yeah, it's a lot of legs, but it's like a terrifying thing. Nightmare, well, actually reminds me of, I've been watching some nature documentaries. I was telling Braxton this earlier, and I was watching one of the Deep Ocean. There's some creepy things down there. I'm getting a lot of D&D ideas just from the creatures down there. The Nightmare Beast is really cool, and then the Yggdrasil, which is like a plant that just is floating through the astral sea or the wild space and consuming things around it. So that's terrifying.
That's a neat one. I'm hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a thought I wanted to say. So it's just free.
100% free. And it will be for as long as they're releasing these. Every month, 10 new creatures.
I'm like, just, maybe they will mention it somewhere, but I'm so surprised they didn't do like live service style. Subscription.
You subscribe. If you're a subscriber of D&D Beyond, maybe you get them.
Maybe they're thinking about
maybe in the future,
so it will cost at some point. So I was looking for that and they didn't say it, so I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I like this that they're utilizing the digital format of things to get content out to people. It's like adding like a quick patch or like you were saying earlier with episodes, releasing new episodes in the future. Yeah. I think that'd be really smart of them to do that.
I'm interested to see like 5-10 years down the line how they're approaching the change to digital. Mm-hmm. And justifying physical release.
Yeah.
Their love for tabletop is going to be the only thing to hold on to that.
I mean, we've seen that with Magic recently, how Magic Arena took off, and so they kind of changed a lot of their format with how they're releasing. They released digital-only expansions and
if
stuff.
They allowed trading, like there's still going to be a lot more value, specifically for Magic because there's resale there for physical stuff. For D&D, there's not.
No.
These are just books that you read and love. So I think
collect dust.
There's always going to be passionate people, just like those who, and this has more collector's edition kind of stuff. And some of these books on occasion, but video game cases. Yeah. It's the same sort of situation there.
You've probably seen nowadays sometimes they just give you a case with nothing in there. They give you a download code.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like 5 years down the line or maybe more, maybe less, it's going to be so easy just to have an online library, especially the integration had to figure out how to do with D&D Beyond that like, I don't think it'll ever go away because they love D&D so much. It's an in-person thing.
Yeah, I think now that they acquired it, that would be more of a permanent kind of strategy. As long as D&D's around, we'll have that in the service, and with VTT hopefully in there.
Yeah.
And maybe different subscription models to get stuff.
Yeah. So we'll see.
So the next one that I was excited for is Journeys to the Radiant Citadel. This one actually,
big announcements, yeah.
This one I would say I'm probably more excited for the Spelljammer because I didn't know anything about it when it got announced, and now I know a bunch more. So it's gonna be standard book price. Release is June 21st. And the guys that talked to us about it was Ajit George and Wes Schneider, which are co-writers on the book. And it showcases what's called the Radiant Citadel, which is an area on the ethereal plane that connects various areas of the multiverse. So again, going to that idea of everything's connected and exactly. It's all written, so similar to, well, I guess not similar to Candlekeep, but similar in the fact that each adventure was written by someone else. But they're all written by authors of color that are sharing a part of their cultural history or experiences through these adventures.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
I was going to say it in Spanish, but I'm not confident with my pronunciation.
Oh, Dia de los Muertos?
Yeah, it's not bad. I believe that's
probably terribly pronounced.
Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Day of the Dead, and the direct representation of it all art. Like they were talking about how colorful this shit is.
Yes, the art was incredible.
So
absolutely incredible.
I love that they're putting as much effort, if not more, into just allowing this to be full, like peak fantasy, 100%. Super, super gorgeous, really cool backgrounds and stories. For a moment, I was like, are these, like, have we seen a lot of representation of these sorts of stories? And I'm like, no. Like, sure, Disney's done, like, Day of the Dead stuff.
Yeah, Disney's done a little bit more recently.
Yeah. And it's one of the most widely known, I would say, holidays within that culture universally. But I was like, there's no redundancy with this sort of stuff. So I'm stoked to see what they do.
And even just, like, the other ones, like African culture and stuff, that we have not seen it, like any representation in media.
Yeah.
Very excited.
There's a lot of eyes on it, so
yes.
I think, like, not negative or positive, just criticism in general is going to be very welcome on it too, to help improve and just make the form more open for people to create these sorts of stories.
Yes, and hopefully there's better stories told by the writers about their experiences, because with Candlekeep, there are some people that was my initial not enjoy their experience with WotC on it. So hopefully this is a more positive experience.
That was my initial fear. But you know why this is one of my favorites?
Why?
So it goes 1 to 14.
1 to 14, which was 13 one-shots, which is interesting.
The end of it takes you to the far realms. Let's go! And they have some void stuff in there, and I was so stoked. So
yes, the what was those, like some like creepy little creature?
Yeah, some
invisible
some screamers.
That thing was scary.
So I don't know if I can read this one.
Yeah, you might have to hold
because
on.
we're ending like our home game, and I don't know where we're going, so I might have to stand back.
Just like skip that one adventure.
Mayhaps like we do a player review, and you can tell me what portions they can read and what to look at, and then Ryan can waffle on his own if he wants on a separate segment of that episode.
That's
talk to the DMs. So I don't want to not cover it just because I don't want to be spoiled.
Right.
I think there's going to be obvious story portions I can circumvent my eyes on, probably. Yeah, so we'll see. But I just got started. It was so cool.
Yeah, along with those 11 new creatures. So one of them, the art looked amazing. They said it was many different themes, obviously. From whimsical and fun to dark and mysterious, and everything in between. So I'm very excited to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I saw the far realms, and I just immediately went, that hasn't happened in a little bit. What are you looking at?
The audio stopped, or is it just frozen and being freaky?
Anyway, so for a second, so we had to do a cut there, and Ryan like stared off because we thought the audio stopped for a moment.
Sorry,
I thought I was going to say, "What, are you stuck in the far realms or something?" Say something, take your brain. But yeah, no, I'm super stoked for the book.
Journeys to the Radiant Citadel looks incredible.
Yeah, so this is one of the first times, and yes, because I'm biased to this sort of topic and genre of stuff, and like the art style is like right up my alley.
Oh my god, I could go on and on about the art.
But I'm excited for it nonetheless. And this is the first time I got close with the Critical Role one. I almost told you I didn't want to read it. This one, hands down, I'm like, I don't want spoilers for it. I have a guess for what your least notable thing is, so it'll be at the end.
Okay, yeah, tell me if you're correct. So the next one I have is the Dragonlance stuff.
Okay, it's
definitely which they teased at the very end, and we got like no information from the end, but they talked about it afterwards.
Okay.
So they said there's very little known besides it's coming in late 2022, so probably in December that slot.
We knew some sort of Dragonlance thing was coming because of Under Third
because of the UA, yeah. So they didn't really reveal any art or anything. In the video, you do see a little depiction of Lord Soth, so if you know him and like him, be excited. But Ray Winninger, which is the lead designer or like head of WotC, I don't know, head of D&D, I think, said that there will be an adventure book as well as a battle game, which allows large military battles to be played out. It's going to be in a bundle that can be picked up and used separately, but they're designed to be used together. It takes place around the same time as the OG novels, so if you like the novels, then you're going to enjoy that. And there's new novels coming out in August that will continue along the timeline. The adventure is called Shadow of the Dragon Queen. Sounds pretty sick.
Damn.
But I'm more so interested in the war game, battle game thing that they mentioned, because that sounds really intriguing. It sounds like what Matt Colville kind of tried to do with Kingdoms and Warfare.
We've done that a little bit, or some form of it, I think.
Yeah, we minorly tested it out. So it's called Warriors of Krynn. It's a war game. And it harkens back to one of the original Dragonlance modules from the OG set when it was launched a long time ago, because they are big battles that take place within Krynn, within Dragonlance, and allowed you to put away your RPG and you're playing around and got to play out one of these large scale battles. So you import your characters from the RPG part, from the Shadow of the Dragon Queen, into the board game, war game experience. And you can play out what happens.
Yeah.
Which sounds intense, sounds pretty cool. I can imagine some people aren't into it, but it is, like they said, completely optional. The RPG book itself, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, contains rules to resolve these same battles if you don't wish to do the war game. So
cool
it can still happen.
Yeah, but it's really cool nonetheless.
It's cool. It's a different way about going about this stuff, which I like.
The interesting thing is your friends are coming together to play 5e, so getting them on another system to pause the game and go into it is going to be a sell. So I'm excited to see what it does.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's coming with like minis and miniatures and stuff that can be utilized in this way.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Speaking of, that's not your next one.
No, it's not my next one. The next one I have here is this new starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, which at first I was a little sad about because Phandelver holds a little place in my heart since this is the first thing I ever did as a DM. It's $19. Release date we don't know about quite yet. It's going to have a bunch of nice, cute little blue plastic dice in there because you got to have some dice if you're picking it up. It's got introductory rules. If you played the starter set already or just looked at the SRD, I imagine it's going to be similar stuff. But it's an adventure for 2 to 6 players.
That's what got me the most. 2 to 6 is a lot. Range.
Levels 1 through 5. So that's a lot to kind of prepare yourself for as a DM.
Do you think they have combat encounter adjustments? Because if you have,
I would hope so,
2 people,
or maybe they won't because it's supposed to be pretty easy. Oh, you're right. If there's 2
people, that's a very different combat for 6 people.
I don't know. That's a good question.
So that's what I'm super curious about.
Definitely didn't.
I mean, they flat out.
Maybe it did.
Maybe it did. I don't know.
I'm either thinking of Phandelver or a third-party one, but I've definitely read one where it said if you have 3 people, then add an extra thing. If you have 4 people, add 2 of these guys in.
Give it more health.
It might be.
They flat out stated that it should, or it does, introduce the rules and ideas of D&D better than Phandelver did.
Yeah, they said that they created it specifically with issues people brought up about Phandelver, that some things were confusing. The pre-gen characters got too in-depth. There are a bunch of pre-gen characters for this as well. So I imagine they're maybe dialing back, maybe doing pretty basic classes to get people started. They also said that they have a QR code included that takes you to video tutorials. So it's like if you were to buy one of those like screen protectors for your
D-brand,
which has role-playing how-tos, which is kind of interesting role-playing, and an interactive demo of, I imagine, probably combat or maybe just like how something goes. Because if you've read some of the, like I think DM's Guide and Player's Handbook, it goes to like, I know Pathfinder did, like goes through examples of how to play. I would imagine this is, instead of reading how to play, this is actually showing you, this is what it looks like to play D&D.
Some of the Pathfinder ones were interesting.
Yes. It can be a little tough to read those and understand what's happening. So I'm excited to doing this. I think it's going to get more people into D&D.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just think about what Lost Minds of Phantom Granted was one of the only ones you could go to at that time. But the Adventure Zone's first campaign started with that. Phandelver was where my character I've been playing for ages got his genesis in it.
Oh, gee.
I mean, it's the next step. It's the next future next. It's the thing that will bring the future of D&D for all these new people. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and it's a great price point, $19.
And
so you're like, I don't know if I like it. Let's check it out.
If it's integrated into D&D Beyond, it's going to be the least obtuse entry into D&D ever.
Yes.
Throw the encounters in there,
it.
Combat tracker, everything.
And the video stuff would probably just be like a video you click on in the scroll window.
I like what they're doing. Well, this is my assumption about D&D Beyond and its integration. True. So we'll see.
And it's got dragons, so you can't say, we're playing D&D. Where's the Dungeons and the Dragons?
I didn't even think about that, but that's hilarious.
But Fandelver does have a dragon. You're not supposed to fight it though, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So that's that. I'm very intrigued to see how all those things come. Next thing is, I'm excited for it, but it won't apply to me. Multi-language support. So if you speak different languages, if you speak German, French, and Italian and Spanish, you're in luck. They're having full and official translations of Tasha's Monsters of the Multiverse, Dragons of Stormwreck, the new, which they did say, I forgot to mention this earlier, that the QR codes for the videos are going to be language specific to the version you buy. So that's very nice. And Curse of Strahd in German, French, Italian, and Spanish.
I'm very surprised it's Tasha's before Xanathar's.
Yeah.
I would venture to say
Xanathar's more is coming, but it seems like a weird first choice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about everything that's in there. And I do think Tasha's adds a lot and optional rules to it so maybe they weighted those as more important. Plus it's its new release, so it might direct people to go buy them. True. But I've always touted Xanathar's as the thing that I have looked at the most. Maybe it's just because I'm a Hexblade Warlock and a lot of stuff. That's probably all I'm talking about right now. But point still stands.
There are some other good classes in there.
But this is going to be a never-ending effort.
Yes.
To translate shit. Yes. So kudos to them. Good shit.
I like the choice of Curse of Strahd. That's nice. That's a nice choice.
Yeah.
Even the guy in the video was like, "Hey, I like this one."
That's one of my favorites. Interesting.
So the next one here, you alluded to earlier, the campaign cases. When I first saw this, I got the wrong impression. I thought when they said campaign case, it was going to be like a thing you can put your magic decks in. Take all your stuff there. I thought it was going to be, because taking all my stuff to where we play D&D is going to be a hassle. So this is made for me, a box I can fit my map in.
This is that, but only for tokens. With stuff. Yeah. And it would be hard to make something like that because everybody's got different shapes and sizes.
True.
Of all their
because I need to make my own.
Yeah. Just get like a backpack or some sort of suitcase for it. I liked the sustainable approach. Mm-hmm. Klingon is one of my least favorite words in existence. It's like moist. Klingon.
Yeah, I prefer replaceable.
But I don't dislike the function of it. I just worry about how long it's going to last because you're going to slap it on there.
Stickers.
Use your Well, it's going to be like staticky. Yeah. That sort of paper just kind of slaps on anything.
Maybe Velcro I'd prefer. Just to make sure it's working.
Velcro would have got janky over time, but I wouldn't worry about the stickiness. It's not an adhesive.
Or magnetic would be nice.
It's just a sheet of kind of vinyl. You love vinyl, I think. It's vinyl, might be. And it just sticks to stuff real well. Okay. Think of those fridge magnets that aren't magnets. They just, those things you put on your hand, they stick there.
I needed like a not WotC playthrough of it, like videos. Like someone actually just bought it and like showing how easily it is replaced.
My worry is that in order to get them off, you're going to have to dig your fingernail into it. And if you ever pull a sticker, though this doesn't have adhesive, it's going to get those divots in it and it's not going to last for forever. Yeah. But I imagine the reason behind this is, hey, this is something we can create. They have the discs already. Let's just shoot out more Klingon packets to them. So it's a really smart move in terms of just a reusable and continuously adding on product for WotC. So
it's 64 different creature tokens between tiny and large. I thought it was strange they didn't get like a huge or like anything bigger. Yeah. Gargantuan. I guess Gargantuan's pretty big, but
yeah, that is very true.
But it's 159 creature illustrations. Now I don't know if you saw this, but is there is there like 2 zombie tokens, 3 zombies, or is it just like one of each?
No, this has the same issue that any miniature set is going to have. It's not going to suit you would never be able to use this. It would be like, hey, I've got this, but it's not that. Now, to be fair, you could always print something out and slap a little sticker on the butt of it and just smack it on top of the Klingon if you wanted.
True. I could see people making their own like easily printable things for this type of stuff.
Absolutely. And 3D printing already exists. So there's people doing that now. If you're interested in that, you're already doing it.
Because there are things like this that exist. Like I have a 2D minis that exist, which I bought thinking I'll never need another mini in my life. Turns out they don't actually have as many as I expected. Yeah. But WotC never had their own until now.
No. What do you think about between the two, this and the terrain case? Yeah. What do you think about the terrain?
The terrains are really cool. So it's jigsaw kind of style. Actually, I should have brought the ones that I own a couple of these, which I think came in an old edition. I can't remember where I found these. They might have been in like a 3rd edition beginner box that I bought for like $10. I mainly bought them for the minis because there's some cool painted minis in those. So they're jigsaw, like double-sided terrain pieces. So you can kind of stick them together, make a pretty nice big size map. It's got grasslands, dungeons, like campfires, furniture, a lot of different stuff that's going to be in there. And I really like that. I think I would get more use out of that, obviously, than the minis.
Yeah. There's more Klingon stuff. Slaps right on the mat. I found a good analogy for it. You know how saran wrap just sticks to everything, but it's not adhesive.
I hate saran wrap.
Now, hold on. Another word for it in different parts of the world is cling wrap.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's the same function. It just has a lot of static. I don't know. It conducts static electricity really well. So
now, does that ever run out?
No.
Okay, cool.
No. If it gets dirty, yeah, it probably won't be able to because there's going to be like an insulative layer there. But it's called cling wrap because it just clings the thing without adhesive.
Yeah, I think if this works well, it was a very smart choice by them.
I think it's one of the best forms of this that they could do.
100%.
The terrain thing's going to be awesome. You can throw your little campfire on there and just have it go.
Yeah.
If it's dry erasable or wet erasable, that's my next question.
Yes.
Because typically these surfaces do have to be pretty smooth for Klingon to go onto, so it might very well be.
And then their next step would be to do spell stuff.
Yeah, I was expecting that 100%. But
my other issue, though, they haven't announced price for this, so we're not entirely sure how expensive these things will be.
120 to 30 is my guess.
For each one?
For each one.
I could see that. I mean, still, that's cheaper than Dwarven Forge or something equivalent, so...
That's what I'm going to guess.
I would probably be down to buy something like that. At least
maybe
not the
me
tokens.
an ice cream if I get that right.
Oh, nice.
I won't say anything like I'll eat a shoe.
It does release pretty soon though, July 19th.
July 19th, yeah. It's right around the corner. Very nice little product. I think that's going to be very useful for a lot of people. I'm curious that there's not, and maybe they're in this, but say that starter set that comes out, all the monsters that are in that, are they in this? They're pretty spiffy.
I would imagine so.
Be good buy-in.
Yeah. I mean, it's 159 creatures.
Yeah.
I don't know how many are in like the monster manual, but I don't think there's.
It's definitely not all of them.
No, it might be just their favorites. That's why I don't know if they have duplicates, like multiple zombies, multiple skeletons. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
So the next one I have here is Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught, which is created by WizKids. This is like a tactical skirmish mini game.
This is
gonna be my last one.
I am not a big fan of offshoot games. That's just me.
I expect when I saw the video, it almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I saw the video, the assets looked like a little VTT kind of thing going on.
They had 3D models, yeah.
Yeah, it looked kind of like probably nothing.
Well, because of that, I was like, is this a tabletop thing or is it a virtual? I wasn't sure for a while.
They obviously haven't finished the model, like the physical models for this yet.
I 100% thought this was a VTT announcements, but the WizKids stuff, because they had shown up prior as well, because there's an announcement before this. Before I continue on, if there's anything you want to say about D&D Onslaught.
Oh, so it's $139. Releases September 2022. So it's materials for 2 people, 1v1. You pick a faction, either the Harpers or Zentarum, which are from Forgotten Realms. 12 characters. I assume you both get 6. It's 21 pre-painted figures, so I assume all the characters and there's some monsters. And it's a scenario-based combat game. You level up, you collect treasure. It seems interesting. My problem with board games and stuff like this is the price point is always so expensive, and I never know if I'm gonna have fun playing it.
True. There's a pretty decent graphic, and you could probably pause and find a clear image of these cards, but a quick dissection is there's a movement icon. Like for this young troll, he's got 3 movement, top left. Top right, it's AC's 15. And then they have their stat block with actions they can do. For example, the guy has a slash, which tells you what the range is, how often it can hit. It's got a crit ability that can give somebody like a weakened target or weakened status effect. It can regenerate. It's got grasping claws. It's very much like a stat block, just reworded for whatever this is with its own nomenclature, icons, etc. So, I mean, it's Wizards of the Coast. They know how to make cards. They know how to organize and put stuff in here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got Magic the Gathering's people to kind of organize. Yeah,
because they are branching out. D&D Hasbro is branching out with the D&D tagline, which the next couple of things we're going to talk about are going to prove that. So the next thing I have here is the Baldur's Gate 3 update.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't...
Yeah, they redid some visuals. teased a few things and said it's coming out in 2023, or you could jump on the train now.
That was the first time they announced when it was going to come out in 2023. I think I want to acknowledge that I'm not the target audience for what that video was, because I know the updates they've had for Baldur's Gate 3.
If you've already been playing it or seen
you would already know they've had visual. And it was framed that way. It's like, hey, what has happened over the last couple of months? This, and that. And I was like, okay, this isn't very exciting. Cat dad reaction. I just grabbed my water bottle before it died. Went on for a little bit too long, but we love Larian. They're quirky.
I do like Larian. Yeah.
I'm excited to see where it goes. I want to change this into what I hope.
Okay, yeah.
I doubt it's going to happen, but what if Wizards of the Coast says, and now that the game has been out, we're announcing official virtual tabletop in the engine of Baldur's Gate 3, or something as a shoot-off, officially supported video game virtual tabletop.
Like use the same assets. And
we do have our own virtual tabletop that's way simpler to use, but here's this one, we're fully supporting it, and we will continue to support it for years to come.
Just like what Divinity had.
But more adjacent to D&D, so I'm excited.
Yeah. I'd be down for that.
That's my hope.
That'd be really cool. So I thought it was cool. It's the problem with the one for Divinity is there just wasn't enough in there. I saw when they first announced and released it, Matthew Mercer and a few other like creators played through it, and it was cool. It was interesting, but there's just too many limitations to the engine and the design. There's only so much you can bring into the world.
And there's something interesting I realized about playing like Divinity Original Sin 2 with friends versus For the King, a game I've been streaming a little bit. Did you watch anything about For the King?
Yeah, the art style is really cool.
Yeah, so it isn't step everywhere you want to go. People have turns, and there's a hex grid and a map. It's not as free range as everybody's in Divinity world running around in real time, moving, causing havoc. They're doing something and missing it. In For the King, you're seeing everything that everybody's doing, and it's a more cohesive experience as a result. So I think that's what rubs me the wrong way about like fully immersive VTTs, like in Foundry, where everybody's just moving on their own. Everybody is navigating the map on their own without turns and whatnot.
Until the DM hits initiative counter. Yeah.
So I think that's what is going to decide whether I really, really enjoy these things or not, is how well it facilitates group cohesion.
Yeah, the actual tabletop aspect.
I think that's what I dislike about virtual tabletops for the most part.
Divinity can get a little wild. Like when we played it, and then when I played it with my girlfriend, where we're off. I mean, like even the Lego game I'm playing with her right now, we're literally off doing entirely different things, talking to different people, and then like combat starts on my end, and she's not aware of it until like she happens to walk within like 40 feet of it. Then she's suddenly in combat mode too.
Yep.
And it can be a little jarring for sure.
That wasn't the experience they were going for first and foremost, so no slide on them at that point. But that's what I hope they change about multiplayer for this. Yes. I don't know if they will, because movement in the overworld in and of itself already is a fluid thing. You just continue to walk. And if a second player comes in and they change it, sorry, this is way off topic, and they change it to you get to move 5 AP worth of movement, and then they get to do it, and then it's just you going. Like For the King does it in a really good way, but it's a lot simpler. So I don't know how they approach it. But yeah, just thoughts there. Something I really want is to be able to create just experiences in this D&D adjacent Baldur's Gate game. It can be the most analogous to D&D, like a one-to-one experience. 100%. So I'm excited. All
right. Then the next thing that I forgot this game existed, Neverwinter. They had
I did too. I thought it was a new thing.
It's pretty old.
I was like, an entire MMO based around dragons. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So it's an expansion for Neverwinter, for just Dragonlance stuff. It's coming out in June. Cool. I forgot this game was a thing.
It seems cool. Yeah. The unfortunate thing about MMOs is art style is such a big decider of when you're going to join. And when it's that kind of real gritty fantasy sort of, you're not getting a lot of people. It's the reason why
2013
World of Warcraft is very cartoony. Final Fantasy 14 is literally anime. The reason why I feel Amazon's MMORPG isn't doing well is because it's a very gritty, realistic looking art style. Yeah, it's not memorable. Amazing art style, looks really cool. It doesn't speak to a lot of people. So that's why I always get disappointed when these MMOs have things like that.
Yeah, I used to love MMOs growing up, and then I can only name like I could fill up my fingers here on one hand of ones that still exist.
I'm getting back into Final Fantasy 14 again because I have a lot of really close friends that are joining up. We're going to get on the same server.
It's a bop. I'd say it's the best MMO still out.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Okay.
All right, so this one, we're near the end of the announcements here. This one I'm excited for until I looked a little deeper into it. Okay, you ready for this? So Icons of the Realms Spelljammer edition. This is some lovely, incredible pre-painted minis. They look insane. If you've probably seen them on your local games before, they
fucking
exist.
Astral Dreadnought or whatever it is.
God.
Oh man.
So these made by WizKids as well. And they've made these for other books, other releases. They always look incredible. This is no exception. But here's the problem. So you buy them in booster boxes, which contain 4 figures each, 1 huge and 3 smaller ones. 1 large, I guess I should say. I don't know. They cost $20 for those 4 figures. Sure, cool. You can pre-order them now on dndmini.com. You get 8 boosters for $167.92. And it's my understanding that you're buying random booster boxes, so you could get repeats in those.
Like why? So it's just catching in the gacha system?
I believe so. I think in person, I think you can see which ones are going to be in the box. But I think with this, I could be wrong. But that's my assumption. The reason why that's my assumption is because, well, I guess before I get there, they also have outside the booster boxes, you have the Astral Dreadnought, gigantic mini, for a whopping $262.49.
I mean, it's pretty.
It's pretty. It's incredible. Then there's a not as huge adult Solar Dragon and Prince Zelaheth for $115.49. Cool. So you buy those separately.
Yeah.
Then you can buy the collector's set, which is guaranteed. This is why I assume the boosters are random, because this means you're guaranteed, and they even say this in the description, to include all 53 figures, all from the boosters, and you get 2 Solar Dragons and 3 Astral Dreadnoughts. I don't know who's going to need 3 of those guys, but you got 3 of them.
Can you imagine the combat? Just busting them all out of this. I would probably actually shoot
That's got to
myself.
be like a level 25.
Yeah, seeing that Dreadnought was one of the
one
peaks.
of those guys.
Yeah, was like one of the peaks of, he's coming for your butt. He's coming for your little butt cord.
Yeah, little cord.
He's going to snip you.
And I believe I read this correctly. You also get 24 promotional miniatures from previous sets, I think. Then you get an exclusive young lunar dragon that you can't buy anywhere else. You get all of that stuff for $787.49.
Yeah, I'll go back to Spelljammer, the Moon Dragon. And that's
there's some incredible. I mean, I understand why it's this expensive. Pre-painted minis already are expensive.
I mean, people pay like $600 for an anime figure.
Yeah, and I mean, these look incredible. Absolutely
I'll
incredible.
slide on you. I love anime. Some of my friends are anime.
But they're expensive.
They're expensive.
Yeah, that's a lot of cash. So I would probably never buy this just because of the cost.
I don't know, that Astral Dreadnought.
For $262.
I think I'd pay $230.
Yeah, you think so? You think the extra 30 is over the top?
I think 60 is a lot.
If I remember, I'll put a picture right
it's
here
purely
so you guys
petty.
can see him.
Yeah.
He looks incredible.
Yeah.
And the big ones that released in previous sets also are amazing. So I think the problem I have with the collector's edition is there's 3 of those. No wonder it's $787. I mean, that's a great price point because if you're buying 3 solo ones,
the dragons are cheaper.
Like
I wonder why there's 3 dreadnoughts and 2 dragons.
I guess people like the Astro Dreadnoughts.
I mean, that's true.
I don't know.
When are you going to need 3? It's like, maybe you give it to a friend.
Maybe. Like, hey, dude, I just happened to get a couple extra of these bad boys. So
I don't know.
Yeah, I it's beyond me. And then you have, so that's that.
Yeah.
I'm double checking really fast.
We're about done. I think we have one more.
Yes, there's one thing left. I'm making sure.
I'm not surprised it's your least favorite. It had the least amount.
There's no information on it. Yeah, that's my problem with it.
I was like, hey, we need you guys to sit on camera for a little bit and just kind of tell us what's going on.
You know what? I had to make sure. I think I misunderstood because they created it was a list, but there's no point. So they're not saying there's 3 Astro Dreadnoughts. That's just number 3 on the list. So you get 1 Astro Dreadnought, 1 adult. So that makes more sense.
That makes a lot more sense.
Okay. And then you get 4. Not 4. Then the 4th point is it says all D&D set 24 promotional miniatures. So that means you get 6. So there's 6 of those. I don't know what was in those, but whatever.
Do some math.
All right. So the last thing.
But hold on, because if it was 3 Astral Dreadnoughts,
That'd be expensive.
That alone is $780. So
yeah, so we add up. I actually don't know. So yeah, just do 167. Okay, we're just live. Plus 262.
Okay.
Plus 115.
579.
579, and then we're also getting the Young Lunar Dragon, which is unique, and then 6 promotional miniatures, and a multi-page booklet. Cool.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Okay.
Okay, so that's that. Then the final thing that they touched on. The final thing was the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah, we got
movie.
a title.
Yeah.
It's no longer the D&D movie.
Just makes you think of Uncharted, though. You ever play that one? Uncharted Honor
I've watched some
Thieves?
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like that, though.
It's taking place on the Sword Coast. I think we were correct that it's going to be a fantasy movie taking place within the world of the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. Coming out March of 2023, so we got some time. There was no trailer, nothing except for a cool flashy title sequence. We did get the stars that are going to be it, which is pretty star-studded. We got Chris Pine, which has done a lot of cool stuff. Hugh Grant, Sophia Lillis, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, and Reggie Jean Page.
I don't know any of those names.
Oh, you don't know any of that? Well, they've not done any anime, so.
Yeah, this is true.
They've done a lot. They're pretty big name actors. It's written and directed by John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein.
Yeah, they showed up. Nice little video in a very echoey room. You could tell they were told, hey, we need this segment.
Yeah, they seem excited.
They did seem
excited. We just came back from filming in some cool places. Yeah.
So I can see more movies and whatnot coming out. Like, hey, we just released the Wild Mount book. Here's the movie that we're having. Well, it's crit rolls already happened, but say, hey, this is some new adventure we've made. Maybe Rime of the Frostmate. Now we're making a movie about it.
Yeah, Hasbro's wanting to use the D&D line more often. They even announced, it wasn't in the thing, but they've talked about there's going to be a spin-off TV series, which takes place in the same universe
Forgotten Realms
as the film. Yeah, Forgotten Realms.
Which kind of doubles down. Ironically, people are complaining, hey, it's all Forgotten Realms. We'll say.
It's a multi. That's what I was saying. So universe that's all in the multiverse. Who knows where things are going to take place?
We got to think like movies take years to create. So this was way back when they were working on stuff. So maybe in a few years they'll branch out.
True. Yeah, this has been in the pipeline and been in film hell for some time.
Pretty much since we started the podcast. Remember when we were back in your place talking about it when it was announced? Yeah.
Yeah, it's had a lot of issues here and there. But that's the D&D Direct.
It was fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for some of these things.
It was more approachable. It didn't feel like how some industries are stuck in like early 2000s and 90s in terms of the presentation, their online presence.
Yeah, they had some fun people announcing it.
It felt way more in touch with the audience now.
There's some flashy videos. It wasn't live, which was probably a good thing. So they've done live events before and it was a little janky. So they filmed it ahead of time, premiered it, and
totally fine with that.
Worked out well.
Nintendo Directs are just like that.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, good stuff. Hell yeah.
That's it, man.
I don't know.
Is it one you're excited for the most? Let's end on that. One you like the most?
I mean, going to the Far Realms, man.
Yeah. I think that's, if I had to say a book I'm most excited for, 100%.
I'm really stoked about Spelljammer, but even despite the library one, what was it? Candlekeep. Even despite Candlekeep and how it's structured, I still am very interested in the variety that's going to be presented in the other large book that it came out with.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I guess besides the Dragonlance book, the 2 other adventures that we've got announced in here are all episodic in nature.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get away from full-on adventure style stuff, and like you said, just plop in wherever you want to.
It's a bit easier. No doubt. That's the thing I'm most excited for. Anything that is like Void Fiends or.
Well, I mean, Spelljammer can have that stuff. I think
the whole aesthetic of Spelljammer.
I think the problem with Spelljammer is it's because of its nature. It can also be very quirky, so they might not lean into that dark side of it too much.
I'm sure you could.
But some of the creatures
run your own homebrew dark Spelljammer 100%. Sort of thing. Super easy.
100%.
I want to make a statement. In the last few episodes, have been crouching, sitting down a bit more. My posture's not as great. Ryan has appeared way taller than me in every episode. Well, look at me. I'm like sitting, I'm holding my cat. I'm chill. I'm the cool guy on the podcast.
Just sitting back.
He is about like 2 inches taller than me, if that. He's also skinnier, so that adds it too.
And buffer.
Yeah, and he's sitting a little closer and farther back. So I just wanted to say that. I look at this little picture here and I'm like, damn, I'm like a half a head shorter.
Tiny, yeah.
Anyways, we do have social media at Dungeon Crawl Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, we've been pretty famously talking to some big accounts that he has jumping on there. So if you want to enter the discussion with us, help us just kind of get more involved in the community. Follow us over at Dungeon Crawl Pod on those sorts of forums and whatever. Twitter is not a forum, but I will consider it that. We have an email as well, thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com if you want to look at that. But we do have a link tree, and in there is a Discord with the community of people that have been chatting it up. As like, granted, there's been a lot of news, but as I always say, we run a couple of campaigns in there. There's a lot of Pathfinder stuff, Homebrew D&D, a Zelda 5e campaign that I'm in.
People even just talk about their games that they're running on their own time.
Homebrew things that they're creating.
A lot of fun places.
The majority of these campaigns that get run are in an open voice chat that if you're not part of the group, will be muted when you jump in there. But if you want to kind of live play, and they coined a new term for it. There was another announcement.
Oh, that's the one I didn't include. It was did a live play announcement.
Yeah. But that the DM for that, Jamie and Kenneth love him, and he is actually very hilarious.
All the people involved, fantastic people.
And it seems like they're having people be NPCs and whatnot as they come in. They had other actors that weren't the main characters.
I did not know. I don't know. A lot of people involved with it.
But they coined a new term for it. It wasn't. It was a play series, is what they called it.
Play series,
not live play.
Which might be again episodic in nature. So because that would make it easier. Because people always say I can't watch 192 hours of Critical Role. That's quite a devotion. Yeah. But I can watch. Like Dimension 20 is more popular for that reason. Well, not more popular, but it's easier to get into. Yeah. It's just short, hour-long, 12 series. 12 episode series. Yeah,
is his name. I'm surprised. I wasn't sad about it or like.
No, I wasn't. I'm not going to watch it.
It's true.
Maybe I will if it's episodic.
If you want to watch your own little play series of everybody in our server playing their games, learn more about Pathfinder. That's a large variety of stuff going on. The DM that does my Zelda 5e game said flat out that one of the one shots I was in with him was one of the best D&D experiences he's had, and I will concur. It was a lot of fun. So shout out to Dart Champion in our Discord for running that as well. I don't know if you'll see this. I'm going to time you, see how long it takes you to get to this episode.
Name drop.
I'll watch you. We also have a Patreon in there, whether you've supported us in the past or not, scrolling across the screen. Thank you so much for the amount of support that's ever come our ways. You don't have to, but it's always welcome. We very much appreciate it. That's my spiel.
My spiel is, while I was doing my research and watching the D&D Direct, I was pretty tired. I fell asleep not too long afterwards. Just like a little nappy poo, as we do.
You don't want to do those two things together.
And I think I might have done a little astral projection while I was sleeping. And I could feel my body, my soul leave my body. And I went soaring along the astral plane. I met some Gith Yankee. I met eventually I went far enough that I made it to the wild space. And I met a GIF and said, "What's up?" And we were snuggling and hanging out, as we do. And he said, "Hold on, I think I recognize you. I think I recognize your voice." And I said, "Oh, Dungeon Crawl, right?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've only ever listened to the podcast, never watched it, so I didn't know what you looked like, even though the artwork is like a one-to-one depiction of me." And he said, "I rated you 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and they made a nice little review down below talking about pants or something." And I said, "Wow, that's really helpful. I appreciate that a lot." And so I think you'd like it if you guys did that too. So go to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, leave a little review, say the GIF, the GIF sent you.
Hold on.
Have I made this before?
Hold on.
Are you going to Astral Projection 101?
Hold on.
This is one of our old episodes, everybody.
I forgot the name.
It has like a million episodes.
The Adventure Zone.
It starts in the middle of an arc. Adventure Zone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you do these back then?
I don't know.
Things. I don't even buy games on sale. I just get
the city within the.
I can't find it. I just went from.
It's a top-down isometric RPG.
I don't know if we did back then.
You guys were watching it.
I don't think we did. I swear you've done this bit before, though. I swear. Or I'm just getting my severe sense of deja vu that.
Maybe you're also astrally projecting.
Holy
that
shit!
Was 2 years ago.
Was it?
February 25th, 2020.
Yeah, I don't think you did it. Maybe you did.
Wow, that was our 29th episode.
Serious? Yeah, I had to scroll down really far. I was actually pretty surprised.
Damn, look at that. Huh?
There's one guy who said
Time
in
flies.
the comments saying he was looking for like videos on how to do astral projection. He was like, "This is not that." I was like, "No, but thank you for your comment."
Yeah, I noticed that had a good chunk of views. I wonder if that
is exactly why, because people are looking up how to astral project.
I wish I could help you with that, sir.
But he's been Ryan.
He's been practicing.
This is the Dungeon Crawl. Thanks for crawling with us. See you guys next week for Pathfinder stuff. Book of the Dead.
Of the Dead, baby.
I'm excited to read it. We will probably have my friend who has run many
guesty poo on here.
I'm giving some ethos here real quick. He is in 6 games a week, and they're like all Pathfinder. So he is in the game. When you ask him about like, what am I going to play? He's like, here's this build. This is it. So he's expert on it. So it'll be fun. See you guys then.
Very excited.
Take care. Bye.
No, you take care.
Let's go check that audio.
Oh, buddy.